Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So it's end of the day, and thank you so much. I can see some amazing people sitting here. So if all of you can come a little ahead, I think we can have this conversation very well. This is a place where we'll have candid conversations. We'll have a lot of discussions. And it's not a place where we'll say, oh, this is a scripted panel. Oh, we'll just share our insights. No, it's our thing. Here, these wonderful review board members are here to share their stories, their journeys, their learnings, their challenges, and how did they overcome all of them. Because it was not easy, it was not difficult, but then it was somewhere in the middle, and everyone has their own learnings, their own journey. This is the place where we are sharing it, and we want, right now, we are here on the stage. Next year, we want some of you or all of you to be on this part as well. So that's why we have this panel. We've had this discussion at Black Hat Asia, but now this panel is again a little bit bigger, and we are coming up with more things and more things to share. We have a mic here, and at the end of the session, this room would be open for you to ask questions. Now, here, nobody would judge you. Nobody would think that what's your question? No. We are here to answer all the questions that you have in mind. And when I say questions, I used to be a person who used to have a lot of self-doubts. And I was always scared of asking questions. But these wonderful ladies, these wonderful review board members made me realize that I can be one of them. So if they can do it, I can do it too. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Thank you. So we will open this panel with a very, very simple question where we will start with the journeys. Because I'm sure that when you are connecting with someone new, you would want to know a bit about them. So we will start off with Valentina, you. And please introduce yourself. And then how did you start your journey in cybersecurity? And what are the things that you did to be where you are? Or what are the things that happened along the way?
Thank you so much, Vandana. My name is Valentina Palmiotti. You may know me by my handle, Chompy. I got started in cybersecurity. This is my second career. So I started out doing something else first, economic research. A couple of years into my career, I realized I was really deeply unhappy, and I started looking around. I was always kind of vaguely interested in hacking because it was appealing in a romantic sense. Like, who doesn't want to be a hacker, right? So I just Googled around. I'm from Chicago, and at the time, there was an ad or like a press release for a boot camp funded by the city, because the city of Chicago wanted to invest into its residents cybersecurity talent, because they were, promoting different companies to start their headquarters in Chicago, and so that they funded this boot camp alongside. And of course, I did the boot camp, but the work wasn't over there. After 6 months, I was fortunate enough to be able to be hired after that. But I was interested in offensive security, so I did a lot of self-study. I read a lot of blog posts by people like Natalie, who I am so honored to be sitting next to today, and replicating that work. And so I would rewrite exploits from public research that was published, and finally I was able to write some of my own exploits and release them. And from there, I was able to get in contact with people that wanted to hire me to do that for themselves. And after a few years of doing that, I'm fortunate enough to be able to lead a team of security researchers today. And I know I'm oversimplifying this a little bit, but I don't know. I just took other people led by example, and I just kind of tried to follow them. And I'm really grateful to have come up in a time where that public research was available to kind of guide me. So,
thank you. Over to you, Natalie.
So I'm Natalie Silvanovich, and And I always feel like I'm the one person in the security industry who followed a traditional career path. You know, I hear stories like what Valentina said, you know, people who self-studied, and that was not me. I was an electrical engineering student at UBC, and I was looking for a co-op job. That's what they call internships in Canada. And I saw one for a junior hacker, and I was like, oh my God, that looks like the coolest thing ever. I'd read a bit about hacking, but I didn't know much about it. I was very lucky. The technical interviewer was sick for my interview, so I got the job entirely based on really wanting to do it. And so I was very lucky. This job was at BlackBerry, and I had some mentors who taught me how to find bugs and write exploits. And by the end of my term, I'd actually written an exploit, which was much easier in 2006. And so after that, I worked in product security for about 5 years. But one thing that always bothered me was bugs didn't get fixed. So I started working at Google in Android security, and I heard about Project Zero. And that's a team basically focused on the problem of targeted attackers and 0 days. So like as soon as I heard about the idea, I really wanted to work on that team. So I basically went out and met them, and I had been doing work bug hunting for quite a while at that point. So I joined Project Zero, and now I cannot believe it, but I have been on Project Zero for 10 years. I'm now a manager of part of the team.
Over to you, Kim.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Price. I do a lot of different things. Currently, my day job is Senior Director of Application Security at GitLab. I also run a security consulting company that does AppSec fractional consulting for small and medium businesses. I got my start in security in 2003, but it was my third career. My background is behavioral psychology. And I was working in public health and moved to Washington State and was so bored being unemployed that I went to a temp agency and became a temp recruiter for Microsoft, which turned into a full-time recruiter for Microsoft, and ended up recruiting for the security business unit back when the TWC memo came out. And this is why you can't really follow my career path, because it's weird and it's a long time ago. And I was in the right place at the right time and got to meet the team. And they hired me as a security program manager in the incident response team. What's interesting is I ended up working with Natalie at BlackBerry, where I also worked in incident response. And I learned everything about the technical aspects of the STRIDE model, CVSS scoring, vulnerability assessment on the job. And it was so scary. I had so much imposter syndrome. I spent the first easily year on the job thinking any day now, the guy that hired me is going to come into the office and say, we made a terrible mistake. But he didn't, and I kept doing the job. And I kept looking for opportunities to do something I hadn't done before and stretching in ways that were outside of my comfort zone in a big way. So when an opportunity came up to leverage my, this is before OSINT was really a term, but I was doing OSINT because recruiters use Boolean searches to find people online and research, would this be a good candidate for a job? I was using OSINT in my role, and I got an opportunity to work on a internet crime investigation. You know, before Microsoft had the Mystic team, they had something called the Internet Crime Investigations team. And I did like a few months work with them. And then later I was like, hey, I've never been a product security feature PM. Let me go do that. And I spent about a year in Internet Explorer. And each of these roles taught me something new about what I like, because I would always get hung up in interviews where the question is, what do you want to do in your career? And I'm like, or where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm like, I don't know. And it made me realize I like startups where you're solving a new unknown problem. And that can be in a company like a Microsoft, which is not a startup, but it's a new problem and it's a new team. Because when I went to IE and I'm like, hey, why don't we do it this way? And they're like, no, we don't do it that way. I'm like, why don't we? Because we don't. Where did we document that decision? We didn't. Okay, so I like startup things, and I think sometimes it's okay. I think the other piece of how did I get to where I am now is sometimes it's okay to take a step backwards. So I started in community engagement. So in 2003, before Twitter was a thing, researchers would drop ODE on full disclosure mailing list. And Microsoft was like, hey, could you get researchers to do this thing called responsible disclosure, which later got rebranded as coordinated vulnerability disclosure. And then at BlackBerry, I was doing actual case management and learned a lot about the guts of how memory is segmented on the BlackBerry and how you exploit things. When I left BlackBerry, I had an opportunity to move into people management, but it was taking a step back into community management. And I'm like, I don't really want to go back to community management, but I do want to become a people manager, because I'd reached the point in the P-Cert where I'm like, I'm tired of making sausage. I'd like to write a sausage making cookbook. Like, I want to decide how the kitchen is run, because I think there are more efficient ways to do it. And so I guess I would say sometimes taking a step back can let you grow in other areas. And so just be very, very strategic about it.
Over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Qian Shen. If you think it's too difficult, you can just call me Ashley. I'm a security researcher working in Cisco Talos, and before Talos, I was also working in Google and Mandiant. So basically, my job is to threat intelligence. That if you don't know what is threat intelligence, basically tracking hackers and to understand either they are financial motivated or nation state hackers, and then to do technical reverse engineering to understand their tool, their malware, and then to report to the community or to the customer. And how I got started was I started to get interested into hacking since I was 17. So I do some self-taught at the time, back in the time in Taiwan, where I'm from. There's no like security learning program, so I was just doing some self-talk and then hanging out in some hacking forums. And I joined a hacking community. It's called Hacks in Taiwan conference, and I volunteered to help to organize the conference. So I'm one of the member of that conference that I attend every year. And I remember one year there was a talk from a speaker from Mandiant, and then he was talking about advanced persistent threat, and that was the first time I heard about this. And when I heard about this, I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's basically like a cyber detective, because I'm always the fan of some detective story like Sherlock or Conan, if you are anime fans. And then so I just found it interesting. And then after, it's coincidentally after 2 months or 3 months, there was a person that's also in the same community. Like, he approached me and say, hey, I want to found a company. Do you want to join? And then I was like, oh, so what does your company want to do? And then he said, oh, we want to track advanced persistent threat. And I was like, oh, wow, I knew about this from the talk, and it sounds really interesting. So I joined the company, and that's how I started. And I have been doing threat intelligence research for almost 10 years now. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, in this journey, I'm sure there are certain challenges that you faced, and you've done your best to overcome those challenges. And we are all here who are facing challenges one or the other way. Sometimes we say that, oh, yes, that's there. Sometimes our imposter syndrome does not let us acknowledge that. So what are those challenges which people should learn from? Because I think they might be sailing in the same boat, but they don't know who to reach out to or what to do. So if you can share your perspective on what are those challenges and how did you overcome them? So we'll start with you.
Sure. So I guess early in my career, I would say a challenge I faced, and I think most people face when they're a minority in the field that they're in, is not necessarily being given the benefit of the doubt right away. I've found that to be given the benefit of the doubt, you have to be or show excellence. And so I always put a lot of pressure on myself to be excellent, and the self-doubt that creeps in if when you're measuring whether you're excellent or not. which is unfortunate because everybody should be measured in the same way, but unfortunately it just doesn't always pan out like that. Nowadays, that's not so much the case, but what is kind of the most persistent challenge that I've faced is in doing kind of high-risk work that like vulnerability research and security research kind of tends to be, is maintaining emotional endurance. So there will be a lot of times where I'm risking working for many months at a time on an idea. And sometimes that idea doesn't pan out and I have nothing to show for it. And it can be very easy to attribute that to your self-worth, whether it doesn't pan out. It can be easy to convince yourself that that's because you're not good enough, or because, you just don't have what it takes. And I've kind of, over the years, I've been doing this for 8 years now, have learned to manage that emotional roller coaster of research and really relish in my research successes and be easier on myself with my research quote unquote failures. But they're kind of, rebranding the failures as successes because I gained knowledge from them. So I guess that's the most common challenge that I still face today, is believing in myself and in my work and knowing that it's all going to come together.
Absolutely. Yes. Over to you.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest challenges early on is something similar, which I would kind of describe on a high level as ambiguity. Like when I started, kind of the field had barely started, and as I've carried on, it's not always clear what's going to come next. Like I know when I was in university, there were people who were like, I'm going to be an engineer for the government, and then after 2 years, I'll be, the next level of engineer, and I know exactly what my entire career path is going to look like. And in security, it's not like that at all. I would even say like there wasn't a lot of clarity of, what you need to do to be successful, or, will we solve all the problems in 5 years and I won't have a job? So that's something that I've kind of, learned to live with, that, maybe I know what I'm doing for the next 2 years and I just need to like be open and curious and like interested in new problems and trust that something new is going to come along. And then I would say now there's like another problem, which I just want to acknowledge because I feel like a lot of people face, which is the problems in security are also huge. So sometimes I feel like, I am just overwhelmed by like all the problems, all the things that criminals are doing, all the big hacks. And, I feel like, it's hard to be just one person doing one thing when there are so many problems. So I think kind of like what Valentina said, both like focusing on your successes, but also, reframing. Just because something wasn't 100% successful doesn't mean you didn't learn something, doesn't mean you didn't make some progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Over to you, Kim.
So, the reality is there's still going to be sexism and a variety of other isms that we face in the workplace every day in terms of, being treated with equality and equity. And it's better than it was in 2003. I don't walk around black hat and have people assume that I'm marketing anymore or that I'm somebody's girlfriend. So that's nice. But there's still differences in how the genders are treated at work, and what a man can say is assertive and leaderly. And if a woman says the same thing, it is bitchy. And so that is one of those things that is still annoying and frustrating, and caused me to learn that I basically have to compartmentalize and be basically cosplay a version of myself at work that is that professional veneer. And it's still authentic, but it's not 100% of me. There are things about me that are in my personal life, that my hobbies, things about my family that I just don't share at work. because that context changes how people view me in a professional light. Is it fair? No. Is it reality? Yeah, unfortunately. And I think the other thing that was a huge thing for me to learn is something, it doesn't matter what your gender is or what your anything is especially early in your career, early to mid-level, a lot of times you will do some work and you come up with a product and you've done some analysis and you present data to leadership with no recommendation. You're like, here's all this data. And your thought process is, these people are more senior than me. Maybe they're executives. They're incredibly smart. They're going to look at the data and know obviously what this means. No, they don't. You're in the data every single day. They pay you to tell them what to think. And the thing is, they may disagree with you. They may say, you're completely wrong, and here's why. And they're going to add context for you so that you can iterate and make that. But if you just show up with data and say, now what? You will do far better in your career if you come in and say, I have a recommendation. Here's the problem I found. Here's what I recommend. A, B, and C. Always make C a terrible recommendation, by the way. Like this is a bad idea, but it is an option. And then give them the data if they want to go deep. And when I learned to flip the mindset of, I've done a bunch of work, but I'm just an intermediate level program manager, to nobody knows this data better than I do. Let me tell you what you should think about it. That really helped me get further in my career.
Amazing. Yes, please, Ashley.
Yeah, so actually, I want to second what Chompy said. That was actually my answer as well. Is I found it, like, actually, the question is about what do we find challenging? And actually, what we are doing now is challenging. To talk about the challenge is challenging.
Right.
There was a long time a long period, especially when I first started my career, I found that because I was always, I think in the last 10 years of my career, I was always the only woman in my team when I first joined the company. And being the minority, I just unconsciously have this, putting this stress on myself that I feel like I need to prove that I belong here. And so I feel like I start to be not authentic. I will, every time when I want to ask a question, I would double doubting myself, like, is it a stupid question? Is it only I have this question? And I also try to stop associating myself to the soft side of me. Like, I try to be less feminine. I don't wear dress at work. I just feel like I want to fit in. I want to look like I fit in and I belong here. And I think after a long time, I feel like, of course, like this keep pushing myself to be success. It's in one way a good force to make me really successful, but also on the other way, I really become less authentic. And when I realized that, I feel like it actually restricts a lot of time, like how I can really show myself and how I can really have a chance to inspire people. Or, for example, doing this panel, I want to do this because I admire people who have good technical skill and or other analytical skill, but I actually admire more people who can inspire me and then to give me like some perspective toward life, toward their work space. And so, yeah, I just want to second what Chompy just said. I think it really resonated to me. And another challenge I'm thinking recently is also like after a couple of years that I started my career, I have always been like really focusing on technical problem, and I'm the person that would sit in front of my laptop and reverse engineering for a week or something, just looking at assembly code. And I publish research, and then I publish what I know about the malware attacker. But recently, I have been start thinking about, so what is the impact of this research? Yes, there's a technical problem, and then I found out this problem, but then what kind of impact can I make to change the industry? Like, I found this hacker is hacking this entity, but then it's been 10 years, this is still happening, and then the most stupid social engineering still work. Like, what kind of change can I really make with my research? This is something that I think is also very challenging, and I've been thinking, I think until now, I'm still trying to solve this problem. Yeah.
So now we just have 15 minutes left. but this is a question I think all of us have in mind. A lot of the people here, I'm sure, want to learn that how important it is to be active in the cybersecurity conferences circle, and why is it important? Like, why should they do it? And if they want to do it, what it takes to be in that circle, because it's not an easy journey, but what it takes to be there. So we'll start off with Kim this time.
Okay. I will try not to talk a ton because I always do. My first conference talk, I co-submitted with somebody who had more conference speaking experience. That not only helped my confidence, but it also, I thought, improved my odds. We got accepted, and I did some speaker coaching, and it was great. That said, it was also less competitive, 10 years ago than it is now. And so I think participating in conferences is phenomenal, but not everybody wants to get up on a stage. If you do, a great place you can submit to Black Hat. You can also submit to B-Sides. They have like speaker coaching and a whole bunch of programs specifically for first-time speakers that will help you. Start giving presentations at work. That'll help you prepare to give presentations on the stage. But there's so much engagement from the community that comes from being on a stage and sharing your thoughts and ideas, that I think it's really valuable. And most people on conference review boards are also really excited to help people like develop their first CFP and things like that. So I generally think it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about you, Ashley?
I think I just mentioned that I basically start my career in the community, in the conference community. But also I realized that how much it actually helped me when I publish a lot of research, when I present a lot of research at the conference, when I start searching, like when I want to switch job. A lot of time when I do the interview, the person that interviewed me, they will say, hey, actually I saw your presentation in that conference and I already know what you did. And they already feel very like positive about my profile. And actually another story was I was in Google before, and actually how I got in was my manager in Google, he saw my presentation at Black Hat, and then he knew like I was doing that research, so he approached me actually on Twitter and then asked me if I want to come for an interview, and that's how I got the interview, and then I eventually got into Google. And so I also found that every time if I go to a conference, I really prefer to speak instead of just attending, because it's much more easier for people will listen to your talk and then they have questions and then they will approach you. And then because as someone that I'm probably not always like know what to talk about with people, it's much more easier to networking and then to really, I also make a lot of really good friends in the conference community. That's what I think I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Natalie?
Yes, so I would say I think speaking at conferences is important, but I've also worked in jobs where that wasn't a possibility. So I do want to say that attending conferences, volunteering at conferences is also something that's important to do. It's a great way to meet people. And I would also say that, what you consider to be speaking at a conference doesn't have to be Black Hat. For example, I was a member of a makerspace, and we would have Tuesday nights where everyone got up with a microphone and just said what they were working on. So I think there's lots of opportunities out there that aren't formal conferences. The other thing I just wanted to mention, especially since we were discussing how, women can sometimes feel like, what they submit has to be perfect, or they really have to prove themselves. When I started on the Black Hat review board, I was like, wow, every submission I've submitted has been amazing. It is way better than everything else here. And I had held myself to such a high standard and never submitted anything that was not perfect. And if I could go back in time, I would have, submitted things that I thought were not, 100% my best. So that's another thing. Don't hold yourself to your talk has to be great. There's lots of talks that, are great for different reasons. Maybe there's things that, other people appreciate that seem obvious to you because you think about it all the time. So yeah, definitely submit. The worst thing that can happen is you get told no.
Right. Yeah, how about you, Valerie?
I think attending or participating in conferences can be really beneficial at any stage of your career. Ashley just demonstrated or just told her story, which is a great demonstration of that. So like early career, it's a great opportunity to meet industry leaders and kind of get in touch with them and kind of follow up on job leads. Mid-career, speaking at conferences is a great way to establish your reputation, as Ashley mentioned. Getting your name out there and putting forth an example of the work that you can do can really, really help in a job search. And it doesn't just have to be Black Hat or DEF CON, like Natalie mentioned. Cybersecurity has exploded. So at least, if you, I don't know how many cities in the U.S. have a B-Sides, but I think a lot of them. There's also a ton of local meetups and just a ton of opportunities for you to display your work and what you're interested in, and people will connect with you on that. And at least for me, I find it helpful just to feel seen and relate to other people on the stuff that I'm interested in. And now that I'm a little bit later in my career, I wouldn't say late, but later, I find it beneficial to participate in conferences for inspiration. So seeing new work, feeling that spark, sometimes I come home from a conference and feel really motivated to dig into this idea that I didn't have before. So I'm still finding it beneficial. It's not just about, networking and this whole business game. It's also about, feeling connected and getting inspired.
I totally agree with all of you. See, the most important part is that all of you are here. And these wonderful review board members and cybersecurity leaders who are here sharing their ideas. You've just met them once. But here, once we are off stage, it's an opportunity for you to connect with them. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Just send them a warm request saying that this is hi, this is where we met. I was in your talk. It does not have to be like 10-liners. Just one line that why are you connecting with them? And when it's the first time, there'll be a second time as well. So second time you'll know, oh, I was in the talk. I was speaking with you. It'll become even more warm. So it becomes a place where you're learning from them and then you're sharing some information with them as well. And it's a place where we're not just meeting once or twice. It's a journey. And it's a learning as well. And cybersecurity is one industry where there's something new every day. Right now, I am working on one technology. Ashley is working on something. Kim is working on something. Natalie, Chompy, all of us are working on something different. But when we sit together, we talk about those topics. And I'm sure all of you have something which you actually can bring on the table as well. A lot of research which you are scared to share. You're not sure how to do that. And that's what we are here for, to be there for you. Now, in the interest of time, we'll just take one last question from you, and then we'll open up for questions from all of you. So please be ready with your questions. And as we were saying, that there's no such dumb question. Kim rightly mentioned that if you don't ask, your question will never be answered. So in the end, I would just want to, or maybe one liner where you can say, what's something they should be doing to get involved? Or what key takeaway they can take from this session that, yes, oh, I learned here, I should be implementing it, or I might be doing it. It could be anything. It could be connecting with people. It could be just doing their first draft of CFP. So something what they can take with them. So we'll start with you, Natalie, this time.
Yeah, so, one thing I would say is try to get the most out of attending Black Hat. You're going to meet so many interesting people. I'd say follow up with one person you met at Black Hat afterwards. Send them an email about their work or about the conference and make a point of staying in touch.
Right. How about you, Valerie?
I'm a big manifester, like I believe in manifestation. So I would say learn by doing. So if you want something to come to fruition, just kind of behave as if it will.
Amazing. Ashley.
I think what came out of this panel, to me, is like define your own success. I think what is successful for other people or the society, how people see us, is not really what would make us happy or what would make us feel achievable or like a purpose. So I think define your own success is one thing. Yeah.
I would say when you connect with that one person that you met at the conference, whether it's one of us or just somebody you meet in a talk in the hallways, like maybe you saw a great talk and you went up and talked to the speaker afterwards, when you follow up with them, have an idea ahead of time of what you want to get out of that relationship. Is it that you want to develop your speaking skills? Is it that you want to develop your strategic impact? Is it you want to learn more about network security? Because they won't know what you need if you don't tell them. And they may say, I am not the right person to help you with that, but I can introduce you to someone. And now you're hooked into a network that will propagate connections to other pieces that are useful to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kim. So now we have 4 minutes left, and we've been told that we have to make sure we're on time. We have all the time tomorrow as well. Now it's your time to go there on that mic and ask question. Any question. The floor is all yours.
So I'm curious, being a woman in cybersecurity means that people have a lot of ideas of what would be really helpful for you to do. And at a certain point, it gets to feel like pandering because it's a gender thing. That doesn't mean your capabilities are different. So I'm just curious, what's some well-meaning feedback you received that wasn't helpful at all?
So, Kim, do you want to take it, please?
I've gotten the pendulum swing of tone policing between you need to be more crisp and to the point, and then the next review is you're too direct and bitchy, use more emoji smileys. Not tremendously helpful in that sense. Like, could you please give me something objective that you want me to do? And in all honesty, for the first half of my career, I refused to participate in women in security groups. And this is rare for me. I don't do women in security panels because I'm not here to talk about my gender. I am here to talk about security. And so I, for a very long time, have avoided any sort of conversations about how my gender intersects with my career. But I have now reached a point where it's like, there's a lot of people who just need to have it acknowledged that your struggles are not fake. You are actually struggling for unfair reasons. We have been through it. And if there's anything we can do to help, we would be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is related to kind of a recent experience. So I'm an information security analyst, and we're generalists at my company. I've been thinking about like what comes next, and I find myself really drawn to governance, risk, and compliance. I kind of head that at my company now, and someone recently made a comment to me that was basically along the lines of, well, of course, as a woman, you would choose a non-technical route through security. And I know, right? I'm not gonna lie, guys, that comment kind of messed me up a little bit. And so my question to you is, do you ever feel a sense of responsibility or like a pressure to pursue something that's not necessarily where your interest lies to prove that your demographic can? Because, I mean, obviously I'm at the intersection of both Black and a woman, very much a minority in the field, and sometimes I feel almost like I need to push myself to be like a high-level engineer or a penetration tester because people assume that I can't. So I'm just wondering if you guys have experienced that feeling and how you handle it, or if someone's made a comment like that to you and how you handled it.
I would say absolutely don't. I've already been through one failed career because my heart wasn't in it. You have nothing to prove to anybody, and at the end of the day, you have to live with your own life. So just follow your passion and do the best you can at it, and fuck whatever anybody else thinks.
I love that.
So, do you want to add something to it?
I was just going to say, if you're passionate about it, you might be the person to identify something groundbreaking in that field. So, yeah, fuck what they say.
All right. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. And this panel is more about sharing experiences, and you get to connect with them. So make the most of it. And it's, as Kim said, it's not about gender. It's about reconnecting and realizing the struggles are real and we'll be answering. Thank you so much, all of you and the wonderful panelists, for joining me here. Thank you.